When you retire, you may get a chance to go to football heaven. This is football heaven.
Coach, welcome to the mission. Thank you so much for giving us your time today. And we're super excited here in Canton, Ohio. We're just a few weeks away from Enshrinement Week, powered by Johnson Controls, where we're going to honor the Pro Football Hall of Fame class of 2022, and one man who is really near and dear to your heart, and you're presenting him into the hall. That is Mr. Sam Mills. Sir, before we dive in, you made a quote. You quoted that Sam Mills was the best player I've ever coached. I have goosebumps thinking about it, and I just can't wait to hear the rich stories of Sam Mills.
Well, I did say that one time, and it got out. Okay. And I've been very fortunate in my career to coach a lot of really good football players. And Sam obviously is right up in the top group, but I don't want the other guys that I coached that I really thought were really, really outstanding players too, and had a lot to do with our team's success, to think that Sam was the best of everybody, because I've coached some guys that are presently in the Hall of Fame. Ricky Jackson,
Peyton Manning, Edgerrin
James, Manning.
Harrison.
Is Peyton in the Hall of Fame now? Is Peyton in?
Peyton Manning's in the Hall of Fame, sir. Yeah, he's here.
He was in already. All right, good. Yeah, put Peyton up there with him. Yeah, but
that's right, Coach.
And Willie Roaf, Morton Anderson. I mean, some really good ones. So I don't want to say that Sam was somebody quoted something the other day. I said was the greatest. Well, these guys were all pretty darn good being in the Hall of Fame, and Sam's joining them, but he's certainly up there with that group. Yes. As an all around player, person, the whole deal.
Coach, tell us, how did the family, or was it a pact that you and Sam made, that if he ever made it to the Pro Football Hall of Fame, that you would present him? How did you receive that information that you would be presenting Mr. Mills into the Hall? Well,
I knew that Sam was going into the Hall of Fame, and that really helped me. I mean, I kind of got emotional when I found out that he was going in, because I've always been a guy that supported him and felt that he belonged in the Hall of Fame. And I knew this was his last shot to get in too. So this was important to me too. So when I heard that he made it into the Hall of Fame, I was, I got shook. I got a little emotional. I really did. And I was by myself. I wasn't with anybody else. But when I heard he was going in, man, it got to me, because I've been pushing for him, because I believe so strongly that that's where he deserves. But now, again, give me the question again, as far as exactly what you wanted me to say about that.
No, you spoke very eloquently about that.
Okay. Well, he deserves it, and he's in there, and I'm so. Oh, you wanted to know how I became the presenter?
Yes,
well,
right.
I knew I've known his wife Melody for many years, because I started coaching Sam in the USFL back in 1983. So I've known Melanie, I've known the family, and I was kind of hoping, when I knew he was going into the Hall of Fame, that I would have a chance to be involved in some way. So when that happened, boy, I was fired up. I was excited. I couldn't wait. During the football season, this last season, Sam went into the Ring of Honor with the New Orleans Saints down there in the Superdome. And I went down there to help, be involved with that. And I spent a lot of time with Melanie and the kids and things like that. So, I was hoping that maybe I would have a chance to participate in some way with Sam going into the Hall of Fame. And when I heard that Melanie wanted me the presenter, I was really, really excited about it. I couldn't, to me, it's a distinct honor. Trust me. That's how I feel about Sam Mills.
You hear so many stories about Mr. Mills, and I have to ask you, when God created Sam Mills, the football player, if you could talk about that creation, sir.
Well, here's the thing about Sam. Sam has had to fight his way through his career as a football player, with the ultimate goal and reward being in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, because of one thing. He's a little on the short side. He's not height-wise what people expect or look for at the professional level as an outstanding football player. He went to a small college, Montclair State, and was a great player there, was not drafted, did not, you know, he was signed by when he got out of Montclair State and had a fabulous career there. The Cleveland Browns signed him as a free agent, brought him to training camp. They cut him. I know why they cut him. They cut him because they thought he was a little short. He's 5'9¼ 225 pounds. Okay. For a pro football linebacker, people think that that's too short. I thought it might have been too before I met Sam. But anyway, he was drafted by Cleveland. He went to training camp, and from the words of their head coach at that point, said, hey, we just didn't think that he was on the level of professional football. We thought he was a little bit short. Well, and then he went up to the Canadian League. The Canadian League cut him. Okay. And this was right after he graduated from college. And then he had a chance to go to the USFL, of course, and that's where I first met him. But Sam had to show that he could play at an elite level at being a little on the short side. Do I think Sam was too short? No, he wasn't too short. You know, in football, the low man wins is a part of football. If I'm blocking you or you're blocking me, if I'm lower than you, I'm going to win the job. So he had a little bit of an advantage like that. And I can tell you a story later when I first realized that Sam was not too short to be a good player at the National Football League level. I remind me, and I'll tell you that story because it's an interesting story and I've told it a lot of times. But Sam had to fight his way. He had to fight that feeling by people that he might be too short to play as an exceptional player at a professional football level. Even in college, he didn't go to a big college. Was he drafted? No, he wasn't drafted. A couple of teams signed as free agents. What'd they do? They cut him. Why'd they cut him? I don't know. The guy's a heck of a player if you watch him play. Forget the height. So then he has a chance in the USFL, okay? And that's where I first met him, in the USFL with the Philadelphia Stars. Well, right away, I mean, without hardly even watching him on the practice field, and I got that job about 2 weeks before training camp started in DeLand, Florida for the Philadelphia Stars in 1983, the first year of the USFL. I didn't know any of the guys on our team. We had about 75, 80 guys in training camp. And so the first time I ever met Sam was in training camp, watching him play. But he had to fight that because now it's the USFL. Then he has a chance to go into the NFL. We can tell that story too, because I brought him to the New Orleans Saints, you know.
That's right.
But the guy, and all his career, he's had to show people that he's a good enough player. Forget height. It doesn't make any difference. I'm a heck of a player. Beyond that, he was a great person, a first class individual. Okay. So he's had to fight that. And I think that made him as good as he was. You know, he said, I'm going to show these guys. Every day he went out to practice. I'm going to show these guys, hey, they should have drafted me. They should have signed me. They should have kept me. You know, I'm a good player. I'm a great player. And I think he had to show that throughout his career. And I think that helped him play to the level that he played to be into the Hall of Fame.
It's funny that you mentioned that because I had the opportunity to talk with Joe DeLamielleure, a Pro Football Hall of Famer, and he explained to me when he was cut from the Browns, he was visibly upset in the locker room, and Joe went over and talked to Coach and said, Coach, why'd you cut him? And at that time, Sam Rutigliano said, he's too short. And Joe says, you don't block him every day in practice. I do. And Joe went to him and told Sam about the USFL. You need to sign up. You need to go play there. And long and behold, he's with you. So with that being said, what type of player, I know you said like he had to prove himself every day in practice, but what type of player was he with you when he got to you with the Philadelphia Stars?
Well, the first part of it, I got that job about 2 weeks before he went to training camp. And I didn't know hardly anybody on the team. So we go to training camp in DeLand, Florida, and every day after practice, and I was trying to get to know these guys. See, Carl Peterson, who was the president GM of the Philadelphia Stars in the USFL, went on to become the president GM, Kansas City Chiefs, and all that. We've been friends and close friends for a long time. But anyway, so he was the one that signed all these players, and I got the job with 2 weeks to go, hired a staff, all that kind of stuff. But then had to go out on the practice field, and we had to make decisions as to who was, of that 75 players that we had out there, who were the best, the ones that we should keep for our final squad. So I had to know these guys, and our coaches had to know them. But anyway, the coaches, after every practice or every day of practice, we had 2 a day, I would sit down with the coaching staff and I would ask each position coach who worked closely with these guys every day in practice, I would say, I want you to rank and tell me a little bit about each of the players. Now I would walk around and, do some things, but I wasn't individually involved with all 75 of these guys, where they're individual coaches, the linebacker coach, defensive line coach, whatever, they work with them closely. And I would ask each one of these guys, we'll rank your guys. Well, Vince Tobin, who later became a head coach in the National Football League, he was our linebacker coach and defensive coordinator. And when I got around to Vince would say, Coach, he says, my best player is Sam Mills. I said, oh, really? Well, tell me about him. And this might've been the first or second day that we've done this. So he talked to me about Sam. So I started, and every day he would rank Sam as as his best linebacker, inside, outside linebackers. He would rank Sam as his best. So I said to myself after the second or third, I better go watch this kid, So I started watching him and became very impressed with the guy. Well, for those 3 years, the Philadelphia Stars dominated the USFL. I'm just telling you that because of one reason. We had the best players, okay? We went to all 3 championship games. We won 2 of the 3. So we had the best team in the league. We by far had the best defensive team in the league. And Sam was our best defensive player. And we had some good defensive players. Some of these guys went on to play in the NFL besides Sam. But he was just a super player for us. And again, besides being a great player on the field, Sam is just a great guy, a great person. I mean, he had all the positive assets you look for a guy that you want on your football team. He was a champion. I mean, he was that type of a person, and a great guy, team-oriented, everything. You just fell in love with Sam Mills.
Well, that's clear. Yeah, that's clear because you brought him with you.
Yeah, you want me to tell you that story too?
Yeah.
Well, then I got the USFL folded, and I was fortunate to get the head coaching job with the New Orleans Saints. And prior to the opening of training camp, my first year with the Saints, which was 86, Jim Finks, who was our president and GM, member of the Hall of Fame, mm-hmm. He one day he says, hey, Jim, he says, how about some of the guys on your team with the Philadelphia Stars that you might like to give a chance to play with the Saints? I mean, maybe we had to try to bring some of these guys to camp. I said, we had, 2 or 3 guys that I thought maybe could have a chance to help the Saints. The Saints hadn't been very good up to that point in their past.
Right.
So I said, one of them was Sam Mills, who I really like. And he says, well, tell me a little bit about him. So I told Jim Finks about him. So we ended up signing Sam, but we signed him about a week or so that we were already into training camp for the 86 season. Okay. So we were in training camp, and we finally, the Bears were trying to sign Sam too. Okay. They were trying to sign him, and we were trying to sign him. Now, at this point, I wasn't sure how he would do in the national, one more step up, you know what I mean? And the Saints at that point, we had some good football players. I mean, I was fortunate to get into a situation where they weren't a bad football team by any sense of the word, and they were really good on defense. They had some really good defensive linemen, linebackers, defensive people, and they were good on offense too. But I think their main strength, and this was proven to be, was defense. So we signed Sam, and I'm hoping, I recommended this kid, and I like him, and he's been good. He was good for us in the USFL, but this is the NFL, and we got some good players. We got good linebackers, the whole thing. I hope he can show us, and make me my word that we thought he could do it. So I remember it was the first practice that he was ever in with the Saints, and it was a morning practice during 2 days, about a week after we'd been in training camp. And we line up for what they called a 9-on-7 drill. It's basically a live drill. It's the offensive line, tight end, quarterback, running back at the defensive line and linebackers. I mean, there's nothing outside. There's no passes. It's just run the ball right up the gut. All right. So we get into this drill about, I don't know, early in practice. And one group was up in there on defense, and I'm watching, and we put Sam in there. Okay. Now he goes into the defensive huddle for the New Orleans Saints for the first time in his career. He goes into that huddle for that 9-on-7 drill, early morning, hot, humid there outside of New Orleans. And we had some tall, good-looking defensive linemen. I could tell you some of their names, but they were really good players, but they were impressive physically, all right? So Sam steps in that huddle. Honest truth now on this, he looked a little short to me, okay? He did. He 5'9", these guys are 6'3", 6'4",
right.
6, he looked a little short. He calls the defense, and we line up. And I'm standing there, and I'm saying to myself, come on, Sam, you can do it, baby. You can do it. I know you can do it, buddy. I know I've seen you do it. You can do it, okay? And so the first play, they run right at him. He lines up as over a 320-pound guard, and he's off the line as a linebacker. They run right at him, and he steps up, stuffs the guard, makes the tackle. I kind of went like that, okay, I don't want to go, Sam. To myself, I'm saying it. Next play, right at him. Steps up, stuffs the guard, makes the tackle. He did that about 4-5 times in a row. He was unbelievable. I mean, what he did there in that one little drill 4 or 5 times. And I know this. I know that the players on the Saints team, the professional player around, were watching this, and they were watching him. Here's this guy. He's not real tall, but can he help us? I mean, does he belong here? And boy, their eyes lit up and their mouths went wide. They saw him do what he did. And every time he stepped up and did that, I mean, I breathed a little bit easier. And when he was done, man, he right then he earned a spot on our team, and the respect of the players around him. And I never, for the rest of the 9 years with the Saints that I coached him, he never looked short to me in the huddle. Never. He looked right where he belonged because he was that good of a football player.
That's amazing. Coach, you got to share us the story about how he and his teammates became the Dome Patrol.
Well, we played a 4 linebacker defense at that point. 2 inside linebackers and 2 outside linebackers. And Sam was one of the inside linebackers. Okay. The other inside linebacker that became the Dome Patrol was Vaughn Johnson. Vaughn Johnson played in the USFL. He passed away a little while ago too. Sam has been a while. Vaughn, but he was so we had Sam and Vaughn in the inside, and Vaughn we'd gotten from the USFL. On the outside, Ricky Jackson, current great player, a current Hall of Famer. And the other outside linebacker was a guy that we drafted in the 3rd round my first year, Pat Swilling. You probably heard of Pat. He might be in the Hall of Fame someday. So we had Vaughn and Sam in the middle, and Pat and Ricky on the outside. Now this was this was the Dome Patrol, just the linebackers. They didn't talk about the whole defense. Just those 4 linebackers became the Dome Patrol because they all had great careers. We had really good defensive teams there in New Orleans for a long time, and Ricky and Pat basically as outside linebackers, we used them as rush people a lot, so they got a chance to put pressure on the quarterback, get sacks and stuff like that. And with Vaughn and Sam in the middle, we had some really good defensive linemen. We had a terrific defense, and we had winning teams. And the people of New Orleans, the fans, came up with the name, or the media, the Dome Patrol, talking about those 4 linebackers: Pat and Ricky on the outside, Vaughn and Sam on the inside. 4 terrific football players.
Wow. Coach, unfortunately, when Sam took sick and he was diagnosed with cancer, did you have interaction with him? And if so, what was that interaction with him?
Well, it was kind of tough interaction because I knew he had the cancer, the stomach cancer. I knew that it was not in a good stage. I know he lasted a lot longer and lived a lot longer than they initially thought that he would. But I had communication with Sam. I didn't see Sam, but I had communication with him. He was now on the staff with Carolina. he played 3 years with the Panthers, then he went on their coaching staff, and he was on the coaching staff. And I had communication with Sam. Eventually ended up going to his funeral and all services. It was a terrible loss for a lot of people that knew him, because besides being a great football, he was a terrific person and individual. Yeah, it was a big loss to me.
You spoke highly of his family, and with this huge honor of him being inducted into this year's class, how proud are you and how happy are you for his family?
Oh, I'm really happy for his family. You know, I saw his family at the Ring of Honor during the last season when he went into the Ring of Honor, his wife Melanie and his sons, and they had 2 or 3 other people there that were related too. And they've handled this whole situation extremely well. I know they're so very, very proud of Sam, as they should be. And it's been an opportunity for me to get to know them a little bit better. And I'm looking forward to being with them in Canton in August.
And speaking of coming to Canton, what are you looking most forward to when you come to Canton and you're back around all the football energy, as we like to say, football heaven?
Well, I've been there a few times for some of the guys that I coached, and certainly, you know, the other people that I got to know as a coach in the NFL, and the ones that attend these events, and the ones that are already in the Hall of Fame that are there, and gives me a chance to participate and get some time with them. So it's an honor for me to go back there and participate and be around either guys that I've coached or guys that I coached against, and players that certainly deserve to be there, quality people and quality players. So it's a thrill for me, and this will be a triple thrill for me to be involved for the induction of Sam Mills.
And Coach, I want to switch gears a bit before I let you go. I got to ask you, you know, we spoke about it earlier, how you were honored to have quarterback Peyton Manning, wide receiver Marvin Harrison, and running back Edgerrin James. What did you see?
I forgot about those guys. You know, you caught me there for a minute, and these were all guys that I was associated with, right?
And what did you see early on in these young men's careers that you knew one day they may be destined for Canton, but they're here now in Canton?
Okay, the first thing, obviously, with the people you're talking about,
yes.
They were all talented enough to be in Canton, okay? But that isn't necessarily, you know, all of it that you need. First of all, they were all really good team-oriented people. Mm-hmm. They were not selfish. Certainly, they wanted to do the best that they could do and have that opportunity at whatever position they had, and they always did. And they were all coachable. The team-oriented stuff that I just mentioned, I think, is really important. They weren't selfish people. They had great work ethics. They were smart. They knew how to play. It was just a thrill and the talent, but the talent level on all these guys, you know, they were just above beyond. It's why they're the main reason why they're in the Hall. But they were fun to coach. They were good people to coach. They weren't a problem, you know. They never a problem. Just always doing what they should do. Set good examples for the other players. All those kind of things. I'm so proud of all those guys, and I'm so happy that I had a chance to coach them.
And lastly, Coach, before we let you go, overall, what does this honor mean to you to present Sam Mills into the Pro Football Hall of Fame?
Well, it's a big honor for me. And I mean, I'm getting a little bit shook up a little bit when I talk about it, but I was kind of hoping to myself that maybe Melanie, his wife, would ask me to participate. And when she did, whew, man, did it fire me up. I mean, it just for him to get in, and when I heard about that, and then when he asked me to get involved as a presenter, I'm so happy. I can't wait to get there and have I'm having a chance to talk to Sam, you know, to people here, and then for the present too. But it's a big thrill for me. It's a big honor for me because I think so much of Sam Mills. What a great guy and great player he was, and to be able to participate like this in the Hall of Fame, the ultimate honor, I couldn't be more pleased.
Well, Coach, here at the Hall, our mission is to honor the heroes of the game, preserve their history, promote their values, and celebrate their excellence together. And with that being said, if you do get some time, here in Canton, Ohio at Centennial Plaza. There are the player pylons with all of the players and coaches' names that have played coach over the past 100 years of the NFL's history. And your name is on one of those pylons, sir.
Well, I appreciate that. That's nice. I'm proud of the fact that I was able to be a participant in the National Football League for a number of years as an assistant coach and a head coach, and it was a big part of my career. Certainly, the biggest part of my career.
Well, Coach, thank you, and thank you so much for your time. And we can't wait to honor you here when you get to Canton.
I'll be there. I'll be there with Sam and his family and my wife. Okay, looking forward to it. Hope I get to see you then.
Yes, sir, I will. I look forward to see you. All right,
you.
sir. Mr. Jim Mora right here, Coach Mora on the Pro Football Hall of Fame's Mission Podcast.